Hey guys, it's Gabby, and this is going to be my birth story video because as you guys saw from the vlog, it was a pretty interesting experience. Nothing went as planned, and I wasn't even in the state that I was supposed to be in to give birth, so... Hey. Okay. Okay, Bubba. I guess I'll just show you guys the star of the video in case you didn't see my pregnancy progression video or the birth vlog. Here is baby Silas. This is our little baby boy. Just to give you guys a little backstory, me and my husband, we were in the military, stationed in California. I got out, and then he just got out in November, well, December. He took terminal leave in November, but then got out in December officially. So he was driving cross country from California to Virginia, which is where I'm from. And we were going to live there, go to school here and everything like that, so that's why we were driving across the country. So Holden, my husband, did the first part of the drive with his mom from California to Minnesota, which is where he's from. They did all that by themselves while I was in school last semester, and I just didn't want to do all that traveling while I was pregnant, so they did that long drive, and then they stopped in Minnesota, stayed there for like 2 weeks so that Holden could visit family, hang out, and all that stuff before the baby came and semester started and all that stuff. For Thanksgiving, I was gonna fly out to Minnesota, which I did. I flew in on like the 25th or something like that, whatever that Monday was. And then I stayed there for a few days, and then we decided that we were gonna drive back to Virginia on Thanksgiving Day because there was supposed to be a big storm coming. So we decided to leave on the 28th, and we drove about halfway to our destination. So from where he lives in Minnesota to where I live in Virginia is about a 19-hour-ish drive, I think. So we drove to the halfway point, which led us to about an hour outside of Chicago, and we decided to stop there for the night and just rest, eat, and relax, thinking everything was going to be fine and dandy, but pick it back up in the morning and get into Virginia by tomorrow. At around 11-ish, midnight, I was getting some stomach pains, and I thought maybe it was just something I ate, maybe it was just because I hadn't drank enough water and I was just dehydrated or something. I don't know. I just felt like, it felt kind of like period cramps a little bit, so I just figured I had to go to the bathroom. So I tried going to the bathroom. That did not work. But then I was like, TMI, but I always have problems going to the bathroom. So I was like, I'll just try again, like in the morning. It's whatever. I'm just gonna go to bed. So then at like 1:30, I hadn't slept at all, and I was like, Holden, my stomach really hurts, and I'm like literally doubled over on the bed, like on my like hands and knees, just kind of like trying to, I don't know, relieve some of the pain, because I had pain in my back as well. And I was like, why am I getting cramps in my back and in my stomach? Like, what is this? Obviously looking back, they were contractions and I'm dumb as hell. But of course, this is my first baby. I've never gone through this before, so I didn't know what to look out for really, so I just figured, whatever, it's nothing. Plus I have a high pain tolerance, so I really didn't think these were contractions because, I don't know, I just expected contractions to feel like so painful that you just feel like you're dying, and that wasn't the case. I just had like a stomach ache, you know? It was just like a dull, aching pain in my stomach and in my back. So I just kind of like walked around the hotel room, and I was like, maybe if I walk around a little bit, sip some water, I'll start to feel better. But then, like I said before, it was about 1:30, 2 a.m. and I was like, I need to go to sleep and my stomach really hurts, so let me talk to Holden and see maybe if he knows something that I can do and whatever. So I woke him up, and then he was like, do you want to call your mom? And I was like, I don't know, it's like 3:30 a.m. there, I don't want to bother them. But then he was like, well, let's call your mom, because you call her for everything. So then she was like, okay, just start timing these pains just in case it's contractions. And I was like, are you crazy? I'm only 32 weeks. Like, I'm not contracting. I'm not giving birth today. Obviously, I was wrong, but we timed the contractions, or the stomach pains, and I was like, okay, they're like pretty close together and lasting about a minute to a minute and a half. And I was like, what does that mean? And she was like, are you crazy? Go to the hospital right now. And I was like, oh. So we took her advice and we went to the closest hospital. We just Googled closest hospital near me. So we showed up to the hospital at like 2 a.m., 2:15-ish, and a bodyguard had to let us in because we came to the wrong entrance, I guess. And she wheelchaired me over to like this little seating area. So she called like the OBs and gynecology department, and they were like, hey, we have a pregnant woman. She's 32 weeks. She's feeling some stomach pains, and she needs to be seen right now. And so they came downstairs, got me from my wheelchair. Me and Holden got upstairs, and then they were like, okay, we're just gonna check baby to make sure everything's okay, do a little ultrasound, and we'll start timing the contractions and doing like, they have like this little monitor on my stomach. I was starting to get in a lot more pain then, so I was getting really like dizzy, and I had the shakes, which I knew was a symptom of like contracting and stuff like that when you go into labor, and people sometimes get the shakes or just can't talk at all. And I could still talk. I didn't want to, but I could hold the conversation if I wanted to. And I was really shaky, like my body just kept like trembling, like I was really cold. And she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just like..." Again, I don't know how much time had passed, but she was like, "Okay, Miss Panetti, so you're about 4 centimeters right now." And I was like, 4 centimeters? As in, I'm gonna give birth soon? She was like, "I'm gonna give you this medication to help stop the contractions, and then hopefully you'll be free to go and you won't give birth today, you know, you'll stop contracting and you can go on with your day and the baby will come at the right time." So I was like, "Okay, give me that medication, hun. Like, let's stop this, because I'm not home and I want my mom and this is not where I want to give birth." So she gave me the medication, they waited, and then I don't know how much time passed. Holden doesn't either because he was in and out of sleep and I was all like dizzy. So then the nurse comes back and she's like, "Okay, so I have Dr. So-and-so here, and we're gonna check you one more time and just make sure everything's okay." And I was like, "Okay, thank you." And then they told me I was 10 centimeters and only an hour had passed. It had only been an hour since I was 4 centimeters, and that medication obviously did not work. So I contracted from 4 to 10 centimeters within about an hour-ish, hour 15. They were like, "Okay, so it seems as though the baby is not in the right position and he is breech, so we're gonna have to do a C-section." And then instantly my heart dropped because I had this whole plan. I'm not sure if I discussed my birth plan with you guys. I'm pretty sure I didn't because I didn't want to like jinx it or whatever, but turns out that it doesn't matter because it didn't go as planned anyway. So my birth plan was to give birth all natural. I wanted to give birth in like a water thing and do like the whole natural water birth, but that wasn't really a thing at my hospital, so I was like, okay, I'll just do it naturally in a hospital bed, I guess. But I did not want to be on my back. I did not want to have an epidural. I did not want anything. I just wanted to give birth naturally and the way my body is supposed to, you know? That's what I wanted to do. That's what I had planned since before I even got pregnant. I knew what I wanted to do. And they just told me right then that I couldn't do any of that, basically. So the doctor told me, "I'm sorry, we're gonna have to give you an epidural now, and you're gonna have to get a C-section because the baby is not in the right position, he's breech, and it'll be very risky for him to come out vaginally because his feet are already in your, like, that passageway, so his foot is stuck and he just needs to come out right now." So the first they told Holden to leave the room, which was already scary enough. They were like, "Mr. Panetti, you're gonna have to leave now." And I was like, "Where are you taking my husband? Like, are you kidding?" So they took him to go get washed up and stuff and to prep for surgery so he can be in the room with me, and they gave him like scrubs and a hat and all that stuff, and they took me to the emergency like surgery room and they started prepping me for surgery. They put an epidural in my back, which wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I still was just really upset that I was even getting an epidural because I did not want one. But obviously with a C-section you have to have one because they're not going to cut you open when you can feel everything. I twitched, which freaked me out. I literally went like this and the doctor was like, "Ooh." And I was like, am I about to be paralyzed right now? I was terrified. It was a mess because I was so scared that I like flinched, and I was like, "Bitch, you're not supposed to flinch when they're putting a needle in your spine." They waited however long it takes for that to kick in. They laid me down and then they like tapped my foot or did something and they're like, "Did you feel that?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "Okay, time to get you in for surgery." And I was like, so then they put this like sheet in front of me, like right on my like belly button-ish area, like right underneath my chest basically, so that I couldn't see anything and that Holden couldn't see anything. They brought Holden in and then I was like, finally my husband's here, because I was like, am I about to do like this whole thing by myself? But luckily they brought him in and then he sat next to me and he just held my hand the whole time they were doing it. So about 30 minutes later, or I'm guessing 30 minutes, that's what Holden told me, is that it was a pretty quick procedure and that it only took about half an hour. He said, "The baby's here." It was 5:32 in the morning and he was 4 pounds 3 ounces. He was a super tiny baby, but they said he was pretty big for a preemie because he was 8 weeks early. But they said that he was a pretty good size and that he's breathing on his own, he's doing everything okay. He's gonna have to be in the NICU, which I assumed he was gonna be in the NICU because he was so early. So then they brought him next to me for like 2 seconds and then they literally wheeled him away. super quickly, it felt like, to the NICU because he was 8 weeks early. He had to be in the NICU for we ended up being in the hospital for 5 weeks. It was a month and like 3 days. Then after that, they wheeled me over to the recovery room. I called my mom, Holden called his parents, everybody got word that I gave birth, and then they all were like, okay, we're coming right now. And I was like, coming right now? You guys don't live? What? My mom jumped on the first flight from Virginia to Chicago. Holden's parents drove from Minnesota to Chicago, and everybody just came out to see us. They were all there within like 5 hours, and by noon, everybody was here, and we were all just basking in the glory of having just given birth. Like I mentioned before, my baby was in the NICU. We were there, we lived in the hospital, like physically inside the hospital. I was in the same room that I was recovering in for about, we stayed in the hospital for what, a month and like 4 days, something like that. So we had to live off of ramen, hospital food, outside food, just like little restaurants around here and there, and it got very expensive. It was a very interesting experience, is all I can say. Is living in a hospital is not fun. It was during the holidays, like I said before. It was Thanksgiving when we got there. We had Christmas there, and New Year's we spent in the hospital. We ended up leaving on New Year's Day actually at like noon, so we had spent 3 holidays in this hospital, and the staff made us feel as homey as we could. But obviously it's not the same spending the holidays in a hospital versus at home. As I'm filming this today, I'm actually still supposed to be pregnant. It's only the 13th when I'm filming this, and I'm supposed to give birth January 19th. So I can't even believe that I'm still supposed to be pregnant right now. I can't imagine being pregnant still, because I haven't been pregnant for a month and a half now. But I'm so happy we got to spend a little extra time with our baby boy, because he's here. He gets an extra month and a half, 2 months on this earth. So now we are back home in Virginia, and Holden just started school today, and I start school next week, so that'll be an adjustment. We're still adjusting to having a newborn in general. Right now we're doing pretty well, I think. We're not too sleep deprived, and we still feel pretty good and upbeat. But again, we've only been home for about 2 weeks, a week and a half-ish. I hope I told the story pretty well. I feel like I have very like scattered brain and way of telling it, because half of it was blurry, half of it was told to me by Holden. So if you guys enjoyed this video, I hope you guys enjoyed hearing the story. Tell me down below if you guys have had a baby, what your experience was like, and if everything went according to plan, or if it went completely out the door when you guys got to the hospital. Because obviously from my story you can tell that nothing went as planned. But I hope that you guys, if you are pregnant, have a very happy, healthy, and safe pregnancy journey, and also delivery. And if you recently gave birth, congratulations. Or if you're just watching this just because, then I hope you have a good day, and that you continue to have a very good new year. But that is all for today's video, and I will see you guys later. Bye.